As a lad, whenever my mother wanted me to do something and I was playing video games at the time, she would always tell me to get to a safe point before I had to do whatever she wanted. What ways have your parents ever shown that they understand your hobbies? My dad once made a painstakingly awful campaign for D&D. A couple of my friends and me played while my dad DM'd for us. As bad as it was one of the most fun campaigns we had ever played, because it was so incredibly silly. He had no idea what he was doing, but really wanted to learn my super nerdy hobby. Just let me finish this chapter. Okay, then go to bed. Chapter is inevitably a cliffhanger. Accidentally start another one. Accidentally my butt. You and I both know what you were doing. I totally did the flashlight under the covers thing too. When I was younger, my parents finished our basement. I asked if they could leave one side and finish so I could skateboard in it when it was cold or raining outside. So that's exactly what they did. I bet it was loud as frick down there when you would skate. My parents always made the effort to ask what I was doing in any of the games I was playing. If I'm ever playing anything while staying at theirs for a few days, they still do. I think my mother knew quite a lot about WoW by the end of it. She understood the concept of raiding and, throughout my teenage years, was sympathetic to the fact that raids usually ended at a point after she wanted me off the computer. As such, we'd negotiate me being able to stay on later on raid nights if I was off earlier on non-raid nights. I'm still not sure she totally understood the concept of me being a laser beam firing giant owl man, but she certainly tried to. My dad, the technologically impaired man he is, can't really comprehend how to play video games of today, but he always gets really into the plot of the games I do play. On long car rides and such, my brothers and I always had our Gamma Boys out and we would play Pokemon. It took mom a bit to understand that if you were in a huge battle, you couldn't just turn the game off. She was nice when she finally did understand. So, if we were close to our destination, she would say alright, nobody get in any big battles. I beat the final boss of Golden Sun, lost Age on the way to school, couldn't read the ending because I needed to get to the save. Had to beat it again later. I asked my dad to pick me up some guitar strings on his way home from work once. He replied, "Do you want .11s or are you playing in standard?" My dad always looks out for us in the background. I didn't notice it until recently, but he knows things about my life I never knew he thought about. He does little things like leaving a full tank of gas after he takes my car out for a ride, doing a chore my mother asked me to do before I even have the chance to do it. He's always been the most active helper on all the teams I've ever been on. The thing that sticks out about everything is that he doesn't complain about anything. He offers objective opinions. He doesn't appear to give me priority treatment, and he never gets or expects any credit for what he does. One recent conversation with my sister sticks out. She said, "I think daddy would do bad things for us." My response was, "We probably wouldn't know it if he has. I can only hope to be as much of a man as he." My dad spent weeks building a Warhammer 40k landscape with hills, bunkers, trees and all sorts. He also helped build and paint all my models despite being silently appalled at the price. I've recently started playing low cross and my dad went googling to figure out roughly the rules and watched some videos so we can discuss the specifics of training when he calls. Googling I say this too. Also, cool dad. Better than my mom. Pause that and come downstairs. Mom, I'm playing online. Tell them to pause it too. It'll just be a minute. StarCraft. Guys, I'll just be SEC. Player 1 has paused the game. Players 2-8. Ha 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 ha. Player 2 unpaused the game. Player 2 paused the game. Player 1. Okay, I'm back. Thanks goo. Wait, what F you bannerlings? Whenever I was doing something in my own little world, I would get really excited. My mom would ask me about it and seem truly interested. As I got older I realized she didn't really care, not even in the slightest, but seeing the joy I got from talking to her about it was enough to make it worth it for her. I love my mom. When I was writing, she'd tell me to finish my paragraph before doing my chores. On WoW, she'd tell me to finish my raid quickly so I could get to bed, or ask me if I was battling murlocs on a quest etc. I don't have many hobbies, but mom has always made a point of understanding what I'm doing. I really wish more moms would be like yours. For my parents, computer games are just a toy for that. I am too old in their opinion. They never understood my hobbies. Art. Anyone who is really into art knows that it can be a lot more expensive than a pack of Crayola markers and a stack of printing paper. Now working on my own paycheck, I realize how much money my parents spent on professional grade art supplies to support me, even though art is generally seen as useless. I painted a lot of Warhammer 40k growing up. Whenever me and my friends had a big get together planned, my mom would force a ton yard work on my dad the day before and he'd sleep through the night regardless of how loud we were. She worked nights. I played original Warhammer. My mother, who used to do cross stitching and needlework, had a great appreciation for fine, demanding, tiny work. She surprised me with new brushes on occasion, and once or twice helped me when I had a large amount of undercoating or base painting to do. The game was fun, but I miss painting and modeling those minis more than anything. My dad never really got my interest in science fiction and fantasy. There's the time he didn't want to let me finish watching an episode of Star Trek TNG because it's always the same plot every week anyway before he turned the TV to NASCAR. Full stop. Mom, though, encouraged my reading. Money was tight, but I remember waiting in the car once while she ran into a store for something. When she came back, she stopped by the passenger window and dropped a book in my lap before putting the other things she'd picked up in the back of the car. It was one of the Star Trek novels. I read it quickly. She also got me started on Timothy's and Star Wars trilogy, the popular Thrawn series. She picked up other SF and fantasy books as she was able, and never restricted me from reading anything on her bookshelf. She got my grandparents to take us to the library each week, since my folks didn't always have the time. She jokes now that if she wanted to punish me as a kid, she'd send me outside without a book. These books, along with encouragement from teachers in school, got me to write. I was a lonely kid, in the country, no computer and only 2-3 Nintendo games I shared with my younger siblings, so I'd sit up at night after everyone else was in bed and read, or write in notebooks at the kitchen table. I shared a room with my little sister, so sitting up in my room wasn't good. I had over 300 pages of a story at one point. My parents were fine with it so long as I knew when I needed to get to sleep so I could wake up for school in the morning. Now I'm about to graduate with a master's in creative writing. It's always the same plot every week anyway. I love Star Trek, but on some level I have to admit the man has a point. Whenever I wanted 5-10 more minutes of game playing, I would tell my parents that I needed to get to a save point. Star Fox 64 had no save points. My mom would always say to do something once I finish the level. I would usually be playing Pokemon. My dad didn't understand games and cartoons, but he was great with music. He would listen to new music and try to predict what music I would like next. My dad is crazy psychic about that. He'll buy an album of a band, and a month later they'll top the charts. As the mother of an 8-year-old boy who is obsessed with video games, God, I'm a B. Why do I care if he plays that extra couple of minutes to get to a save point? I can just be a sensible adult and ask him a few minutes earlier to finish up. Nothing is that urgent. I'm such an butthole. Thank you for pointing out that this one little bit of patience would actually show my child some respect. I've never actually thought of it like that. I'll try extra hard to remember not to just badger him until he turns it off. Right now. You have no idea how much respect you'll earn with this. Even better if you communicate with him. Offer him to do some chores to earn time when he won't be interrupted for any reason, except maybe the house burning down. Keep it up. My mother is kind of oblivious, further than pause that when you can, but my dad used to play the same morgue as my sister and me. Or, rather, we'd play the same one as him, because he played it first and was 50x better than us. It was nice to have something in common. But it sucked when he told me to go to bed. It's a school night over guild chat. Actually, if it counts as a hobby, I used to watch the new episodes of Supernatural online at 2 AM every Saturday because of time zone difference. If my mother was telling me not to go to bed too late, it would be like, but mom, Supernatural is on tonight, okay? Well, no later than 3 AM. I felt as if she wanted to feel she had at least a little bit of control over my bedtime. My first WoW guild was led by a mother of two who used to tell her kids to do chores off guild chat. My dad once heard there was a Pokemon TCG league in my city, but wasn't sure where it was. He drove all over town, went to multiple malls twice 3 times, to the point where me and my brother simply just thanked him and said we could just go another time. He was getting visibly pissed off. He turns to us and, in the most angry voice says, "No frick that. We've been driving all over town. You two are going to play fricking Pokemon cards by the end of the goddamn day." My dad used to try and play Battlefield 2 with me back when all I did was play video games. He wasn't very good, but he'd keep playing anyways. He was however really good at flying the jets, most likely because he is a pilot. Whoa, my dad was the one to get me to play Battlefield 2. He loved first-person shooters, and for a long time that was his favorite. He had to teach me all about how to play, and I was never very good. It's very different from the Disney Golf I was used to on the PS2. He knew I sucked, but he wanted to share his games with me. Growing up, my mom would patiently wait in line with me at the bookstore for hours every time a new Harry Potter book came out. This year, my family and I visited Singapore, and my only request was that we drop by the Harry Potter exhibit at the Archons Museum. She complied. I ended up spending 2-3 hours in that place while she was so bored that she actually sat down at the museum cafe and borrowed my Harry Potter exhibit guidebook and started to read. Also, when I got my first credit card, which was an extension of her card, I went crazy and spent nearly $200 on books. She wasn't pleased, but I didn't get punished as severely as I expected. Guess she was just glad it wasn't C. My mother understood that I couldn't eat dinner right away if I was raiding or playing other online games with friends. My stepdad used to get annoyed, but she understood that socializing had changed. Think I'm gonna give her a call. Call your mothers. Will do, chief. Will do. My parents hear my on the drums in the basements for 4+ years and never once asked me to quiet down. They actually don't even realize I'm home when I'm playing. They'll call me in the middle of a song and ask where I am. I love my parents. That may be because you live 20 miles away from them. That's awesome. Yeah, my mom would also wait for me to save a game before I had to do anything. However, during most recent years when online gaming has become the focal point of many video games, I couldn't just save or pause a game to attend to my parents' requests. Mom, hey, can you take out the trash? Me, hang on, I'm playing this video game. Mom, just pause it, I need you to do this now. Me, I'm playing online. Mom, I can't just pause it. Mom, get off that dang game now. Me, grrr, fine, find a safe hiding spot and pray no one interacts with me while I'm gone. That's why I don't play League of Legends at my parents' house anymore. My dad barged in and demanded to know about the P sites he found from our ISPS log, which could apparently be used to check the full history of everything. I was fairly shocked by this, thinking myself to be a reasonably subtle master of stealth at the age of 13, and looked at the page he was waving in my face. It had suicidegenerals.com highlighted. Dad, that's my sister's website, not the one I use. He never brought it up again, and gave me complete diplomatic immunity. 2 years later, his computer broke. He borrowed my mother's. She logged on later that day to find a video called Devin and the elevator still on the screen. I guess he understood my hobbies? I don't know. Frick it. It's 4 AM and I wanted to tell a goddamn story. Be amused, you suckers. Diplomatic immunity did it for me. Top marks. Not quite a hobby, per se, but after I first came out to my parents, there was an unspoken understanding that we wouldn't go crazy talking about it. That slowly faded and they proved to be more accepting than I could have dreamed. On several occasions, my boyfriend came over while they were around, and they would scoot us off into the basement to watch a movie, then shut the door for us and turn off the lights. If they needed something from downstairs, they would make plenty of noise and slowly meander down the stairs to give us plenty of time to hide any potential naughty bits. I love them for being able to look at things from the "we were teenagers once" to angle. I collect books. Not always ones that I want to read, although I get around to reading most of them anyway, but also ones that just look cool or are unusually old. Whenever my mom goes to a garage sale, she buys big boxes of books for me to look through to find ones I want to keep, then takes the rest to donate to a used bookstore. Also, where I live, lad is slang for a gay dude. This provided some confusion when I first read your post. When I've been playing some game a lot, my mom asks me if what I'm playing is any good. If she decides my description of it sounds interesting, she'll try it out herself. And then because she has more free time than me, she finishes the game before me and spends all of supper spoilering the game for me for the next week. I don't talk to her about video games anymore. My dad is a hardcore rock and roll enthusiast guitar player for 40 years, and when I developed an interest in electronic music, he took an immediate curiosity to the different processes of making electronic music down to the most mundane level. Sure made it a lot more enjoyable having a dad who wasn't like, what the frick are all these boops and beeps. Back when I was first getting into electronic music, I bought a deadmau5 CD to play in the car. We were on a road trip at the time. My dad stopped the music halfway through the third song and just said, "This is terrible and agitating. It's making me physically uncomfortable." If he could hear the crap I listen to and produce now. When my dad asks me to help him with something, he always says, "Come help me out with this once you've found a good stopping point." If I'm playing a game online, I immediately quit out, and if I'm playing offline, I pause that crap immediately, because I respect my dad simply for being so nice about it. Mine did the same exact thing, mostly FFVIII, still one of my favorite games, to the point that save point because integrated into our communication, so even if it wasn't a game but just something I was doing, it was always time to find a save point when mom needed something. Best thing I've heard all day. Once I was in the backyard ripping the bong and my mom was doing yard work and she came around the corner and saw me and she just waved and said, "That's a really pretty bong." I was like, whoa, okay. Your mom wanted a hitman. Stop being so stingy. I've really gotten into watching soccer matches. I recently started supporting a team from England, Liverpool, and over the past year or so, I've been absolutely obsessed. I've soccer my entire life, so my parents know that it is something extremely important to me. My parents and my brothers couldn't really care less about it, but whenever they see me watching a game, usually around 9 AM on a Saturday or Sunday, they act really interested and like a fan. The best moment had to be a few weeks ago when Liverpool played Everton. I had spent all night working on a huge project and completely forget the game was on at 7:15 the next morning. My dad wakes me up at 7 o'clock, says, "Your game is on soon. I didn't want you to miss it." I thank him and rush downstairs to watch it. Where was my dad? He went back to sleep. He woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning just to make sure that I wouldn't miss the game. Love you, Dad. My dad has always been really supportive of my photography, even when I've been an irresponsible idiot. He's bought me over 6 cameras, built me a light box, and has drove me to countless locations and sat with me for up to 3 hours just so I could take a few pictures. I did that with my son. Today, all these years later, he will bring that up as an example of how cool I am as a dad. My parents both learned to play Magic: The Gathering. We lived in a fairly conservative area that tended to portray D&D and magic as evil. I had been taught the game in college and my little brother, 8 years, wanted to play too. I taught everyone and they decided that while they didn't really enjoy it, they could see my brother loving it. We both still play to this day. Whenever I got a bad grade or something like that, I wouldn't be allowed to use the internet. My dad always gave me the first day so I could say bye to my internet friends. RuneScape. Your dad is a god. I remember thinking when I would be grounded, crap, that girl I paid 4K to be my girlfriend for is gonna think I'm cheating on her, and I will lose 4K. I have been a competitive skateboarder since age 6. In the summer before 3rd grade, my mom sat in a lawn chair at the scatter park watching me practice every day for 4-6 hours straight, and was just as excited as I was when I learned something new. I am eternally grateful to have had such a supportive mom, especially considering how many moms hate the fact that their kids participate in extreme sports. Your mom is amazing. If my mom wanted something, she would hit the reset button and scream at me. I just stopped playing video games and hid at my friend's house. I let my kids finish a dungeon raid or get to a save point before kicking them off to do chores, go to bed, etc. I game too, so I know how crappy it would be to make them just quit. 15 minutes past bedtime and you're still not finished. Another 15 is not going to make you suddenly a delinquent. I've been reading a particular comic for a few years, Sonic the Hedgehog. Judge me, but since bookstores have been going out of business and I'm in college, it's harder for me to pick it up every month. My mom makes a point of keeping track of which comic I'm on and grabbing the next one whenever she goes to the grocery store. Even if we've been fighting recently, she'll just leave it in a bag on my door. Ugh, that was the worst. Colossus, go take out the trash. Okay, I will in 1 second. Let me get to a save point. I didn't ask you to do it when you felt like it. Get off your butt and go take out the trash. I need 30 seconds to get to a save point. Now. My dad took Donkey Country 3 out of the SNES while I was playing it and smashed the cartridge because I said I'd take the garbage out in a minute. Wait, I think I misunderstood the question. Played through Borderlands 2 with me. Played the various COD games with me online before we both started to hate them inside. Turned me on to good games. When I was in 4th grade, I wrote all the time, like, every day for weeks on end. I would write stories about aliens, animal men, teleportation, all kinds of silly science fiction stuff. I had binders filled with stories that never really went anywhere, but fueled my passion for writing. After I finished each story, my mom would read over them. She would stay up late and edit them for grammar and give me tips on how to improve my writing. Because of her support, I am pursuing an English degree with a concentration in creative writing. I've started to get things published by my college and I'm on the road to becoming a high school English teacher. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.